Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Mission Yozakura Family, Season 1, Episode 20. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. It's a very sad episode. I figure it would be because considering the title of the episode is like Sun Earrings, I figured we'd dive into Shirai's past. Did not expect the twist that it's connected to Tayo's family, his mom and dad specifically. We don't know the core. Well, I guess it's like, well, we know they're connected to the medical field, so maybe that's just a connection there is. Like, they just happen, well, they happen to work at the same hospitals like Makoto and stuff like that, and Shirai just ended up being one of their patients, I guess, in general, or just whatever the case may be. They're the ones, in fact, who gave her the sun earring, so they have even deeper meaning than we thought. So that's fascinating. And they were attentive to her. They treated her like she was a daughter. But I think that's just like who Tayo's parents were. They were just those type of caring people, you know? And it seems like, because this whole story is being told through a very, I don't know if what's the word I'm looking for? Rudimentary version of Morse code. She's trying to like basically do it in such quick succession that Makoto's like nearby drone can't perceive it. She knows she doesn't have much time and she needs to tell Tayo this story, which part of me wonders is the reason why Makoto chose her for this mission is because he knew, like, right, he knew eventually Tayo would be the one to show up, and it feels almost cruel to do that. And I could see Makoto has shown himself to be he's one of those villains where it's like, oh, he's so cruel and despicable, you can't wait for him to get his comeuppance. But he seems so evil and nonchalant. But maybe we'll find out he has a tragic past. I don't know if it's going to, change how you feel about him, but it feels like they set him up to be the most despicable person just so you can be like, well, this is X, Y, and Z and why he became the way he is. Regardless, it feels like he chose her specifically because yes, she has her compatibility with 100% with the Hazakura, but it could be that the others we meet later on in the episode, was it Mizuki and I'm assuming they're part of that same group too, that they're the same. They haven't had the Hazakura as long in their systems as Shirai has, because it's been a decade for her. So we'll see. Maybe she is like the only 100% and they're like in the 90s or something like that. Or maybe they, like I said, maybe it's like a smaller organization that has it in the hundreds and stuff like that. I don't know. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on, but my point from bringing that up is I don't know if she was just the person for the job because she's that good. Also, like, he knows that she doesn't have much time left, so might as well put it to the test against a true Yozakura because she's probably never really fought one until now. It seemed like this was a trial basis in so many regards. So, but it feels like specifically choosing her is because she was at the end of her life. Plus, how poetic would it be that the Asano family has something to do with you getting better, and lo and behold, here's their only surviving son. So I'm curious in that regard. So, but anyway, I'll get to some of the thoughts I had about like Makoto and the Asanos in a little bit. But yeah, she was getting better and better. And to the point that she was able to leave the hospital and start walking on her own again. And obviously, Tayo's dad, being the big softy that he is, he's crying like, oh my God. Like I said, thinking of her as a daughter and stuff. It's really beautiful until she finds out the truth from Makoto. Like, we don't know how much time, like whether that was like well, because she's had the Hazakura for like 10 years. So she must have like she was in the hospital for a while, them looking after her. So we don't know the time frame from when she left the hospital to her coming back for a checkup. But basically Makoto showed her like, oh, like look at all these dead bodies. These are all the failed experiments. And also the Asanos, we had to take them out. Don't worry, they had no idea about all of this, so they got to die thinking they were doing good. That's the thing, like, it makes you wonder, did Hide and Akari, because I believe that's their Tayo's mom's name is Akari. I wonder, did they find out the truth at the last minute? Maybe did they die not knowing the truth, or did they die hiding that they didn't know the truth, but they were going to plan on exposing it or something? Because they were guests at uh, the Yosakuras, their mom, like her and Momo's wedding, like they were guest invited, so maybe there was some correlation there, especially considering like Tampopo is enemies to the Yosakuras and stuff. So I don't know. But the harsh reality sunk in, and she blamed herself, sadly. And she's just as much of a victim as the Asanos, having no idea. But for her, it's like, right, she's like, my desperation to want to live made the Asanos push themselves so hard, and this just, I allowed myself to become a test subject of Makoto's, and every person that was sacrificed for me to be the better result, and the Asanos, all those deaths, all that blood is on my hand. And she kind of felt like she had this second chance, and she felt like she didn't deserve it. Even saying like these earrings, they have data that basically allow Tampopo to see my coming and goings no matter where I go. If you can use the data from this to backtrack and find them, it's like, I don't deserve these earrings. And that's the heartbreaking aspect of it. Once again, she's just as much of a victim as anyone else in this situation. And that's Taiyo hearing all of this, like, he loses control of the Yosakura, the Somanin in the Yosakura blood, and he starts running wild. But obviously, because of where he is, he's such a beginner with the Yosakura blood that it will kill him in this berserk form. So he does bloodletting, because it's like a very primitive, as Momo puts it, like a very primitive way of dealing with things. And I love that he's like, oh, did Shinzo teach you that? It's like, well, Shinzo has been the one that's been directly training him with the Yosakura blood. I'm sure he'll eventually get training from the rest as well, because we haven't really seen them really, I mean, we've seen them use it in increments, but we haven't really seen them like really go full throttle, I think, using. But I mean, I think their circumstances with the Yosakura blood's a little different, because like I think they use it in spurts, unlike Taiyo does, because he keeps it, like, I mean, granted, he's not supposed to keep it on for long periods of time because it will like take its massive toll on his body like it did. So it seemed like he was at the end, but because he did the bloodletting thing, releasing like the adrenaline that's built up from his blood and like pouring up, like, so that his body isn't as overwhelmed from the somanin in his blood, he's spilling it out. And because of that and his regenerative ability, it kind of compensates itself. It kind of is that double-edged sword, as like Luffy's Gear 3rd was. Gear 2nd, sorry. From beginning, obviously he kind of neutralized a lot of those like drawbacks and stuff like that, what it kind of cost him. But in this moment, like, the bloodletting thing isn't a thing you want to do. It is meant to be a last minute like tactic, I'm sure. But also the attack he performs. I think I drew this parallel before, that it kind of reminds me of Black Cat. Once again, I can't even remember the main protagonist's name, but he was 13 in an organization that he was a part of. But either way, basically he had the power to, like, once again, I believe it's only in the manga, it never came up, I think it came up once maybe in the anime, but it was not to the extent it was in the manga, to my understanding. Basically, there's like this electricity he can build up in his cells, and he's able to kind of transfer that and basically form a charge shot. And basically Taiyo was able to do that exact thing. Basically, like, the summoning, like, he can take the energy from Ye, his sword or his weapon, and it like can combine and surge into like the summoning in his blood. But basically it's a one-shot attack. And as Shirai has said, like, the only way you can beat my hair is if you like go, it has to go all at once. You can't just like, because my hair will regenerate too fast for you to deal with it little by little. So it has to be an all at once thing, and he does. And what is the name of this technique? Amaterasu. How befitting. The sun earrings. Amaterasu, goddess of the sun in Japanese. I don't think it's just folklore. I think it's like Shinto Buddhism. It's kind of in the same vein as like Suwano and stuff like that. So either way, I was like, that's very befitting, and especially because it's like raining and stuff. Considering the lightning and stuff like that, I thought it would have been like more like a Suwano thing, but it was like Amaterasu, not unless that was like a mistranslation or something. But like I said, because of the sun earrings, I feel like it would have been. I guess another poetic thing would have been like Tsukiyomi. Either way, I'm going on all these massive tangents. All that like Okami and Shadowheart's knowledge right there for me, and well, Naruto as well. But either way, I mean, I guess it's also befitting because it was kind of like raining, and then after that attack, like the sun starts shining afterwards, so it feels very befitting. But yeah, he cut all her hair, and I think, once again, she wanted to give the earrings to Tayo, but Tayo let her keep them because it's like, no, my mom and dad told me about you, a girl whose hands were so warm, and basically the girl that like would never give up. So it's like he's once again, he doesn't blame her. He's like, you're not responsible for my parents' death. Once again, even viewing her, it's like, you're just as much you're just someone that Tampopo, one of many people that Tampopo took advantage of, people who are desperate, who just wanted to live. And it's like, you had no idea what you were a part of, but in her mind, it's like, I benefited from it. I got 10 extra years of my life, and they were the sacrifices, because I didn't really, in her mind, she, because who would think what would be the cost for what you got? But it's still the thing of, she had to live with that smile on her face to hide like the deep sadness and regret. She had to live with that, and once again, that just shows you the cruelty that is Makoto. To like, he did that just, I think, to mentally break her and shackle her even more, where it's like, right, to guilt her into feeling responsible, like, oh, this was used to save your life, and so all that blood and death is on your head, when in actuality it's his. We also don't know who actually is directly responsible for killing Tayo's family, because there was also like this flashback that ties into it all too, where it's like, as he talked about it, his normal, like he took, like, he's like, oh, it's just normal, because it's like, oh, the fact is his mom and dad would go so far and beyond just to help someone. It's like, oh, this guy's daughter was drowning, it's like, oh, thank you for saving my daughter. The dad was exhausted, but the mom's like, oh, I'm a nurse, and it's just, this is normal. And for him, it's like, yeah, that normal he took for granted. He thought like, I'd have all those times like I fight with my brother, but we make up the next day. So many good mornings and good nights, and so many things I thought could go on forever, and that normal was stripped away. And he found that normal again because Mutsumi was there when he woke up, and he was like, why are you here? She's like, isn't it normal? And it's like, right, that gave him the strength to fight back, because it's like, he's going to do whatever it takes. He failed to protect his normal before, and he's got his normal back now with his new family, and it's like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to protect it. So, and sadly, because this was the end of the road, Shirai obviously sadly dies. But before you even have a moment to breathe, like and like I said, I think home dude's name is Mizuki, show up. They specifically come to retrieve her body, but also take out Tayo if need be, because they got the results they needed from the recording. So like, they got the data. He's no longer needed. They need to get the data from Shirai's body. But before they could do anything, Rin and Futaba are on the tracks waiting. Wanting to impress Mizuki like ends up charging towards Rin. She didn't even lift a hand, and ended up kind of just like, I mean, we didn't see her kind of make a move, was able to kind of send Ai flying back. I love that he tried to use his poison gas, and I love Rin kind of tosses Futaba, and she just kind of like tosses the poison away, and then also like flips the train cars, and just like, that was fluid motion of just kind of like the three, including Shirai's body, end up getting away. But Futaba's like, yeah, I'll fight you some other time. But it's like, because he was like, we're not here for a battle. He's like, next time I'd like to really fight you. And she's like, well, I'm only here to retrieve my little brother. So whenever you get a spare chance, we'll fight. But then like the other train cars explode while theirs just jettisons away. So we don't know, because Tayo did specifically leave the earrings, so I get the feeling like either he downloaded the data when he touched them, but also was like, right, I got what I needed. I don't need to take these earrings off with you. I want them to stay with you. I'd almost kind of was hoping that they'd be able to retrieve her body, that I feel like Tayo would want her to be buried somewhere else. I mean, it's not even about the data of like Tampopo getting it. I think it's mainly just about like, right, she doesn't deserve to be with him, but But the others, like when I and like I said, I think Mizuki dude are looking at her body, and Ai's like, oh, I'm sad that she's gone, but he's like, no, but look at her. Look at that look on her face, like she finally found peace. So I think it feels good for her to kind of be back, because I think those are kindred spirit people too. Like I said, they might be people in the exact same situation she's in, but I don't think Tayo left those earrings on her for nothing. I think he must have put like a tracker in them or something like that, or like I said, just retrieve the data. But it's kind of like, at the end of the day, Futaba, for her, it's like, it's a mission accomplished. She tells Tayo, because it's like he was able to beat Kishiro, just his heart, and she's like, I believed that whatever Taiyo got out of this situation is going to be well worth it in the end, and it's like it is. The knowledge of all that, plus, like I said, I do believe he walked away with that data, but we'll have to wait till the next episode to potentially find out if that is the case or not. So, like I said, very just sad situation all around, just a sad episode. So it's like, of course they're going to hit you with a gut punch of a storyline like this. So, like I brought up earlier, I doubt Makoto's the one that directly dealt with the Asano family. I'm sure, like, he doesn't seem like the one that will get his hands dirty unless it's specifically related to the research, and they were connected, but I doubt that was that person. I'm sure it's going to be someone significant in the organization. We know there's someone higher up that Makoto, like, looks up to, but whoever it is kind of, like, had special admiration for Momo, which Makoto kind of wishes, is very envious of Momo, being like, oh, I wish I was in your shoes. Another thing too, and that's the biggest question of why leave Taiyo alive all this time? I mean, I guess arguably it's like, well, they didn't go after him because, like, well, the Yosakuras are there, but you're also going after the Yosakuras as well. But it's like Taiyo didn't know anything, but that didn't stop them from trying to kill the entire family just to send a message and also make a point. So, but him surviving couldn't have been an accident. Not less like Mitsumi's dad had something to do with that. Like, he set all of this up to, like, push Taiyo in a position to get stronger. Whether it is purely what he was telling Kishiro for the sake of Mitsumi, or whether it was something else entirely, whether there's still more to it, who knows. But it does seem like he is trying to push Taiyo to be, I guess, once again, where he failed, he feels like Taiyo could be the one that succeeds. And like I said, maybe he's the one that orchestrated it or made it so that Taiyo survived the accident. Or maybe it was just pure luck. But I feel like there's no way. Because, like, if Tampopo wanted to, they would have gone after him. But maybe it's like well, he survived, so there's not much we can do about it. Like, let's just let him live his life, you know? We killed most of the family. That maybe they thought he'd be so distraught. That's all they needed to do. I don't know. It feels like there's got to be more to his survival than that. Like I said, but Momo having something to do with it, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm also curious. We never actually found out who was actually the person that took Mitsumi beforehand when Tampopo was so close to getting her heart previously, all those years ago. I'm curious which member was the one that actually got her. I'm sure we'll learn more about those circumstances at some point. I'm actually kind of forgetting, like, the fact is that we're so close to the end of the season because the season's only 27 episodes. Either way, I'm very excited to ultimately see where the next episode ultimately ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good